Hello and welcome to Business as Usual. Today I'm joined by my friends Dr. Tamara Pikulik from Wignall Animal Hospital and John Simone from J&R Foreign Car, J&R Auto Repair. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Dr. Tamara, I want to start with you. I wanted to talk a little bit about senior pets today. I guess we should probably start at the beginning. How do you define a senior pet?
Well, we all grew up with the definition of 7 dog years for every human
Of course,
year.
yeah.
That's actually not bad. The American Veterinary Medical Association selected 7 years old as the beginning of a senior lifespan. So your medium-sized dog lives until it's about 12, so that's the equivalent of a person living into their 80s. But when you get to the little guys, the Chihuahuas and the cats, they're going into their later teen years. And the giant breeds are going to, like the Great Danes, they're going to be old at about 8.
Wow.
So 7's a pretty good average.
Yeah. So now, do they have special needs, blood work, dentistry? How do we make sure we take care of our senior pets?
Sure. At that 7-year mark or so, we're going to start talking about certain tests, no different than we reach a certain age and our doctors are starting to tell us, well, it's time to do this and it's time to do that. We recommend blood screening, blood and urine testing, takes a look at liver values, kidney values, thyroid values, and what that lets us do is pick up problems that can come on as they get older, like diabetes, kidney failure, under or overactive thyroid gland. And the great thing is, those kind of diseases are very manageable if we catch them early.
What type of things should we be looking for, like changes in behavior as dogs and cats age? Are there certain things we should be watching for?
The most common thing people usually talk about is elimination problems, accidents in the house.
Yep.
And that can come up from a number of different reasons. There can be medical issues that start causing that. They're going to be more prone to urinary tract problems, but also as arthritis makes it harder to get outside or get into the litter box, it just might not be so easy for them.
Now, do I have to pay attention to weight gain as my pets age?
Oh, absolutely. The most important thing you could do for your older dog starts before they're older, and that's keeping their weight under control. Studies have shown that dogs that are at a good weight, more so than their overweight litter mates, live 2 years longer. And that's huge if you think about that 7-year per year mark.
I mean, 2 years out of 7 is a big difference. Mm-hmm. So then obviously exercise is important for them.
Yep. Good regular exercise is good for everybody. It's good for the household too.
Yeah. But like I said, how often should someone walk their dog? I mean, I see people out, every day, once a day, twice a day. Is there any type of guidelines for that?
Oh, I think it depends on your dog. You need to make sure that they get good regular exercise. Certainly out every day, and your little guys aren't going to be able to go as far as your big guys. And dogs, like my greyhound, she needed her good run every day. The rest of the time she was a couch potato. But if you have a dog that's designed to be a hunting dog like a lab, they expect to be busy all the time. Border collies expect to be working all the time. So you need to find a routine that lets them feel active.
Good example. I don't mean to interrupt.
Jump in.
I have a 5-year-old lab, had ACL surgery, kind of a couch potato dog, but you got to keep them out there walking. You can just see her starting to stiffen up.
Yep.
So I
Absolutely.
agree with you.
Got to keep that muscle tone up.
So I guess that would be important to consider when you're choosing a pet.
Oh,
if
your
you're the type
lifestyle.
of person, your lifestyle is not going to accommodate you taking that dog for a walk all the time. You should be careful about which dog you choose.
Right?
Oh, that was a disaster.
Yeah.
Dalmatians were bred to be coach dogs. They were bred to be pretty and run behind a coach and horses all day long.
Really?
Now we take
Never
them.
would have guessed that.
Yeah.
Now we take them and put them in a living room and wonder why they get destructive and have problems.
Yeah.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about arthritis. What are some of the signs that my pet may be getting arthritis?
Well, usually it's just very subtle. People will say to me, well, he's not complaining. Well, they don't complain. They just don't do what they usually do. So the dog that used to charge up the stairs every day because they knew it was time to go to bed, that now is thinking twice about going upstairs, maybe choosing to sleep downstairs, something like that. That's because it hurts. That's a sign of arthritis.
So we're obviously just getting through the holiday season. I want to talk a little bit about people who may have gotten a new pet for Christmas, and especially if they got a puppy, for instance. Can you give us some advice on, how to make that transition work for someone who's maybe never had a dog before? All of a sudden, Santa brought him a puppy.
Well,
God bless Santa.
God bless Santa. And I hope Santa knew that the household was ready for that puppy. So you want to set up a good routine for any puppy. I believe in crate training, which teaches them to hold their bladder.
Can't agree with you more.
Absolutely makes a difference if you do it right. You want to have a routine for feeding them because they're just like kids. After they eat, they have to go to the bathroom. So control when they eat, control when they have to eliminate, set up a routine, and suddenly they're going to the bathroom outside because you get them outside at the right time. And you want to absolutely have obedience training as soon as they're old enough, and you can do that.
I think that's great advice. I mean, just people I know that have pets that have taken the time to send them to obedience training. It's just always interesting to go to their home. As you mentioned earlier, you walk in and, the dog come over and greet you and say, okay, you've greeted Kevin, now go. And the dog will go lay down. Versus other places you go and you're like, oh my God, John invited me over today. And I have to be ready because that dog's coming and I know it's going to jump all over me.
You've clearly been to my house.
But, it makes a big difference, because as we were talking before the show, you have someone like my wife. My wife's not afraid of dogs, but she doesn't want your dog anywhere near her. If the dog comes over, like a lot of dogs do, and they keep bumping your leg to you like, hey, I'm here, pat me. My wife's just like, can you pat that dog? Can you make it go away? Just her personality, where I'm always like, hey, I want to see if I can, make this dog jump up and down and flip him over a couple times. So, it's kind of an interesting to have us over because I want to play with your dog until it gets tired and goes lay down, and my wife doesn't want to play with your dog. So, like I said, obedience training obviously is very important then.
Yes, and really obedience training is more about teaching the people. Because with my experience, I can pretty much take a puppy and train it to do the basic things very quickly, but I know what signals to send it.
Yeah.
And when people don't know what signals and how to do it, then they get frustrated. They get frustrated with the puppy gets confused. Obedience training is about teaching the puppy what you expect and about teaching the person how to tell the puppy what to expect. And then everybody's happy.
But it is interesting because, unfortunately, kind of like children, sometimes we give in. Where, like you said, the dog starts crying a little bit, so you run over and give it attention. But now the dog's training you instead.
Oh, very good. Wow, points for you. You figured it out. Yes, they train us. Absolutely. Absolutely. People will say to me, oh, I have to give it a snack. Really? Does it hold a gun to you to make you go in the refrigerator? No, because it's learned the boo-boo eyes next to the refrigerator is going to get it fed.
It is very powerful, though.
It is.
What's a good example of a signal? That's because I know a lot of times with my dog, it's like I just feel as though I can't convey to it what I want it to do. You know what I mean? Like
Well, if you teach
are you talking
it,
like hand signals and stuff? Or?
No, you can use any words you choose as long as you're consistent.
Okay, so.
So you teach the dog to lay down, then you teach the dog to lay down on the bed,
Okay.
then you learn to send it, and the dog learns, go to your bed.
Okay.
And they know that means from wherever they are, walk across the living room, lay on my bed, and I'm supposed to stay there.
Fair enough.
I remember having a very large dog as a child, and the only one the dog listened to was my mother. It was kind of interesting.
Your mother?
Yeah. If you go lay down, the dog would just kind of like look at you. As soon as my mother spoke, the dog would put its head down, go do what it was told. I'm like, just like I said, it's like having a ninth and would actually be a 10th child for my mother, So it was kind of interesting. Another thing I'm seeing a lot recently is my friends transitioning with their pets, where maybe they have an older dog, an older cat, and they're bringing in a newer dog, a newer cat. Can you talk a little bit about that transition? Because that would seem to be very challenging for the older pet being there. Hey, you're always the center of the attention, and now here's the new puppy or the new kitten who everyone loves.
Yep, it can be, but you can make it easy. So with cats, they're very smell-oriented. In fact, they use smell more than they use vision to identify an individual. So you want to give them a barricade. I usually tell people put the kitten in its own room for a while with its own litter box, its own food. Let them sniff under the door. It'll start out with hissing, and eventually you'll reach the point where they're not hissing and maybe toes are going under the door, and that says that they accept each other. And then you start letting the kitten out and letting it smell be a part of the household. But you still have to make sure that the older cat has easy access to its litter box, its own food dish. It doesn't feel crowded, not put in a situation where it tries to use the litter box and the kitten tackles it or something like that. And for the older dog with the puppy, the older dog's going to be the boss, and you need to encourage it to be the boss for a while. You need to not let the puppy invade the older dog's space. and you have to set those rules.
That would seem to be challenging. Now, how about when we have a real human baby getting added to the equation? I've had friends who've had dogs and cats forever, then all of a sudden they have children. And for those people especially, their dog was their son or their daughter. And now you're bringing home a live human baby. How does that transition usually work? Seems to be a challenge too.
Well, you want your baby safe, of course, so you want to make sure that the baby gates and the things are up so that the dog can't accidentally be there when the baby starts to crawl, if the baby goes towards the dog's food dish, you need to be there. But I think the biggest mistake that people make, they don't realize, is that when the baby is born, and of course they're exhausted, and they finally get the baby to bed, and now it's time to pay attention to your dog or your cat or something like that. What you actually want to do is to not do that, but to try to pay attention while the baby is there, because animals make associations. So if you only pay attention to your dog when the baby's asleep, then their association is, finally, that rotten pink thing is out of the room and I get what I deserve. You actually want good things associated with the baby. So the baby should be in the presence of playtime, feeding time, things like that. And when the baby is not around, it's just quiet time. So you want them to make good associations.
I want to talk a little bit about supplements for your pet. I've never really given this any thought, but it must be important though.
Well, we recommend it for arthritis.
Yeah.
People do too. People take glucosamine and MSM and all of those type of supplements. They're available in every drugstore. And I recommend it the same way for older dogs and cats. It's thought to be the part of the building block of the cartilage tissue. So it's thought to help the cartilage keep itself healthy. And what arthritis is when your cartilage layer over your joint gets worn away and now the bone is rubbing up against the bone surface. That's what hurts. So we want to keep that cartilage healthy, and supplements are thought to do that.
How often should I bring my pet up to see you?
It's once a year until they reach the geriatric years, which is maybe about 10 years old for the average dog and maybe about 12 years old for the cat. Then we do recommend twice a year because things can change faster.
Yeah. Like you said, it would seem to make sense. Obviously, like everything else, like a human, preventive is much more important than waiting until your pet develops symptoms and then have to treat them after the fact, right?
Absolutely. It's all about prevention.
Great. Like I said, that was fun. I appreciate it.